Prep baseball is going national. After seeing the talent he has on his roster, Coach Muth knows he can put his guys on a bus, take them down to D.C., and compete at the highest level. And that is why we are here today. St. Joe's Prep, St. John's College High School, Philly versus D.C., and it starts right now. Hawks baseball back on WSJP. St. Joseph's Prep taking on St. John's College High School. As I mentioned, a Philly versus DC matchup. For today's broadcast, I'm Ryan Sullivan. Just me here today, folks, and we'll get into the matchup of today's game after the national anthem break we will have on WSJP. We'll be back in a few moments. Ladies and gentlemen, we are here at Bob Turtle Smith Stadium in Washington, D.C. And if you see that big M at the bottom of your screen, yes, this is the home of the University of Maryland. They are in the Big Ten on the collegiate level, and St. Joe's Prep playing in this college stadium. This is absolutely incredible for the team, and also here on WSJP. We're excited to bring this for you. As I mentioned, just me today, so we will keep the camera stationary where it is because I don't have somebody else to help me out with that today, but obviously you'll get the scoreboard updates and everything else that comes along with it. Starting off today for St. John's, it will be Jake Koblenz, the class of 2028 left-handed pitcher. He tops 84 miles an hour on his fastball, and a theme between these St. John's cadets, you will see that they have a lot of pitches in their arsenal. He's able to throw a curveball and a changeup, also hits as well. So we'll see if he takes the plate here today. Very solid exit velo and a velo in the outfield as well. But as I mentioned, Koblenz on the mound today. The Hawks not facing many lefties starting-wise, so they'll have to deal with that here today. But St. Joe's Prep, they come off a loss against Newman Goretti where, you know, the Prep, they were expected to win that game. They were expected to pretty much dominate, I would say, after they came into that game undefeated in the PCL. But Newman Goretti, give them credit where credit is due. They had a great game. They played well. They were able to defeat St. Joe's Prep, the Hawks' first loss in the PCL, and they are in the out-of-league for the next two games. They'll take on Penn Charter on Monday. We'll have a broadcast on WSJP for that one. But we're going to get ready to go here at the University of Maryland. Emilio Iannicone stepping up for St. Joe's Prep. Iannicone, a very great season, a .370 average and 36 plate appearances, 10 hits for him. Has also knocked across 3 batters to the plate. First pitch to him on the outside and high. 1-0. Koblenz already back to the mound here. He is quick to start things as Iannicone takes the next pitch for a ball. Iannicone, we know, he likes to make his thoughts vocal on the plate of what he thinks the calls are. Obviously shakes his head no on that one. Third pitch to him in the dirt. 3-0 start to Emilio Iannicone. If Iannicone can get on, most likely we'll see John Weaver take first base for St. Joe's Prep as that complimentary runner. Fourth pitch, and that one is high. Ball 4. Iannicone does not have to do anything. He just has to stand there, and he gets on base. So we'll see if Weaver comes on, and he will. No doubt about it. I don't even know why I even had to bring that up. But Emilio Iannacone gets the walk, and it brings John Weaver onto first base. We know Weaver's speed. He has been able to steal some bases this season, has 6, and has scored 11 runs for the Hawks this season. But up next for St. Joe's Prep will be Pat Vezza. 10 games played, a .273 average, and 37 plate appearances. Weaver, big lead to start. Koblenz looks him back, and Vezza takes the first pitch for a strike. As I mentioned, that fastball, he tops 84 miles an hour, Koblenz. It's going to be hard for Weaver to steal, as Koblenz is a lefty. But we'll see if he decides to do it here. Throw back to first, and Weaver, he'll slide in safely. Vezza, though, consistently in that number 2 slot for St. Joe's Prep, has not batted in any other spot this season. It's a typical first 3. It never really changes. Iannacone, Vezza, and Grasso. Koblenz will pitch this go-around inside ball 1. In 6 pitches, the Hawks have not gotten the bat off their shoulders, being very selective today. We've seen them chase in the last week or so on a lot of pitches, and Vezza takes another pitch in the separate batter's box for a ball, 2-1. Weaver being held on, but he's still taking that big lead, as you can see on the right of your screen. Koblenz steps off but does not throw it back. Approval from Coach Muth and the rest of the dugout. 2-1 to Vezza. And he hits this one into center field, not deep. And the play will be made for the first out of this game. Weaver goes back to first. Chris Grasso now up for St. Joe's Prep. The Miami commit impressed everyone against Newman Goretti on Wednesday. Went 2 for 3 in that game and advanced his batting average to .286 on the year. Though he does lead the team in strikeouts with 11. We'll see if he can get the bat off his shoulders and possibly drive Weaver to second. But Weaver will go to second on his own on the pass ball. Koblenz, he pitched a few in the dirt already, and that one costing St. John's, as he will take second base. Infield playing a bit back for the Cadets. Koblenz taking a long look at Weaver back at second. This one in the dirt again, but Weaver will hold at 2B. Clapping it up for Chris Grasso is John Weaver on the top of your screen. Will Ward on deck for St. Joe's Prep. Grasso has not gotten the bat off his shoulders. It looks like Coach Muth has really scouted out Koblenz well. The Hawks not swinging much, making Koblenz give them a good pitch, and Grasso hits this one directly to third. They look Weaver back, and the play will be made for the second out of the inning. Hard hit from Chris Grasso. Unfortunately, could not get that one into the gap. But now with a runner in scoring position, Will Ward will come up for St. Joe's Prep. And we know Ward is probably the guy you want at the plate with a man in scoring position. A .433 average this season, and the most plate appearances on the team with 42. Ward has also knocked in 10 RBIs this season, and that leads the team. But now he has to hit one and not get out to drive in John Weaver as he takes the first pitch on the off speed for a strike. And here's a throw to second, and it goes into the outfield, but it just softly bounces. Not enough for Weaver to go over to third. Doesn't even think about it. Koblenz really trying to give Weaver some problems back there. Unfortunately for him, it has not worked out in St. John's favor. He's taking a solid lead off second. Koblenz likes the first pitch called, and Ward check swings on that one, but he holds back, called for a ball. And as I mentioned, the Hawks not swinging it much. They are really taking their time. Unfortunately for them, the 2 hits that have been in play have been outs. But Will Ward looks to change that here on the 1-1 count. Throw back to second again. Weaver in safely. Weaver not necessarily being held on, but some good throwbacks from Koblenz have prevented any errors. This one, high hit from Weaver into center field, not deep. And that will end the top half of the inning. St. Joe's Prep, they get a man on. They can't do anything with him. We go to the bottom of the first inning where we will see George Van Deen take the mound for St. Joe's Prep. Van Deen this season has impressed. He's had his first start on the varsity level against Holy Ghost Prep, only giving up 3 runs. Has a 5.44 ERA, 9 runs given up, 14 hits, an opponent batting average of .395. There is a lot of guys that can make contact off Van Deen, but he does do a great job of letting his team work behind him. 8 strikeouts on the year as well for George Van Deen. He'll have Emilio Iannicone behind the plate for him at catcher today. Not many changes from the last game for St. Joe's Prep. David Locker getting his second start of the season at second base. So you'll see him there. Kyle Allman getting the start in center field. Chris Grasso in left. So some changes, but none that the Prep audience are not used to seeing, I guess you could say. So Van Deen warming up here. We saw Mirtu Rupertus pitch on Monday and Chris Grasso on Wednesday. The Hawks getting the win on Monday. Not on Wednesday, though, as I mentioned. Rupertus, dominant game against Archbishop Carroll, not letting up any runs in that game. But we'll see what George Van Deen has gotten. He has pitched a lot in the out-of-league contests we've seen this year. As I mentioned, Holy Ghost Prep. He pitched against Germantown Academy. That was just last Saturday. Hawks near comeback in that game. So we'll see today how he fares against a very good St. John's team. I believe it'll be Jackson Bringer to start things off today for St. John's. Bringer, he was playing shortstop, trying to get Weaver out just a couple of moments ago. Was not able to do so, but now he will step to the plate and try to get a man on to start for the Cadets. Infield meeting between Ward, Locker, Sittler, Keenan, Iannicone, and George Van Deen. Here we go. First time the Hawks in the field in Washington, D.C. I don't want to throw shade on any other place, but I feel like this is probably the best place I've broadcasted from. I mean, this is incredible. Franklin Field's definitely up there. I love Penn. But this is obviously great, too. I don't know what's up there. St. John's bench making noise to start as Van Deen delivers his first pitch. That one in the dirt for a ball. We know it takes Van Deen some time to get accustomed to the game. We'll see how he fares here today. Second pitch from him in the same spot, called for a ball again. Koblenz, he did let on his first runner. That was Emilio Iannicone, turned into John Weaver. But he was able to get out of the inning. Bringer bunts. Van Deen fields it cleanly, quicker over to first, and he makes the play for the out. Interesting decision made there by Bringer. He decides to bunt after the 2 balls, but it works out for St. Joe's Prep.
Now batting for the Cadets, number 29, Maddie Ruddy.
Ruddy now up to the plate for St. John's. And as I mentioned, interesting decision from Bringer. He decided to bunt. Not really sure what went into that, but it works out for St. Joe's Prep. First pitch from Van Deen in the dirt, 1-0, bounces off of Iannicone. We did see some control problems on Wednesday. A lot of balls went behind Iannicone, and this is definitely a bigger backstop than FDR Park, so the Hawks going to have to be cautious today. As Van Deen delivers on the 1-0, and it will be too high. Ball 2, 5 pitches for Van Deen. None called strikes, but he has gotten an out. Lucky for him. On the 2-0, that one called for a strike. Beautiful framing from Emilio Iannicone. Iannicone behind the plate has been great. The framing has been impeccable. Good framing again, but called for a ball. 3-1. Van Dien going to have to work from behind early in this game. 3-1. This one hit into left field, and it will get down for a base hit. Ruddy on. And that is the first base runner of the game for the Cadets.
Now batting for the Cadets, number 8, Jack Jenkins.
Jenkins now up for St. John's. And as I mentioned, Van Dien, he does let up some contact, but obviously we saw in the first batter he was able to bring around on a pretty solid bunt. Van Dien, that's now his 15th hit given up this season. That does lead the team. And this one is hard hit into left center field, but the catch will be made by Chris Grasso for the second out of the inning. And, I mean, what did I just say? A lot of contact off of George Van Dien, but the Hawks are able to work behind him. Taylor now up, just like that. I didn't even get a chance to talk about George Van Dien and the fielding for St. Joe's Prep, and I wanted to brag about it a little bit, but I guess Jenkins didn't really want me to. Nonetheless, Taylor up. First pitch to him, off speed, called for a ball. They are holding Ruddy on first, but Van Dien has not even looked him back just a little bit. Interesting decision made by him. We'll see if he steals, or maybe the Hawks don't necessarily see him as a steal threat. I think they do have confidence in Emilio Iannicone to get the ball down and maybe get that out. Van Dien does look him back this go-around. That one on the outside again. Good catch from Iannicone, 2-0. Iannicone was a bit frustrated on Wednesday against Newman Goretti. A lot of things just not going the way of St. Joe's Prep. Hawks, they're cooled down and ready to go in this one. Van Dien, just as I said, he's looking back Ruddy a lot now. Throw back to first. I think he's hearing me. I just said he's not throwing it back. He's not holding him on. I mean, I don't understand this here. Doesn't make me look good. It's all right. Two 2-0 from Van Dien. As this one is fouled off to the backstop. 2-1. Beautiful day here in Washington, D.C. Actually at the University of Maryland, not a cloud in the sky. Actually, I see a little cloud. But you get my point. Not a cloud in the sky here today. Beautiful day for some baseball. Bit of a breeze, not too hot. Not like on Wednesday, that was just too hot. 2-1. In the dirt again. Steal over to second. No one's covering it. And Ruddy gets in scoring position with a stolen base. The count is now 3-1. An opportunity for St. John's to get 2 men on. Encouragement from St. Joseph's Prep dugout after the stolen base. Locker holding Ruddy on over at second. Here's the pitch. In the dirt, ball 4. 2 runners on with 2 outs for St. John's.
Now batting for the Cadets, number 7, Jake Armiger.
Armiger now up for St. John's. This is their 5th batter of the inning. They are getting through their order. But George Van Dien looking to shut down with no damage done. Sittler holding Ruddy on over at second. First pitch in the opposite batter's box, 1-0. As I mentioned, George Van Dien, sometimes it takes some time to, get acclimated. He's got to warm up just a little bit here, and nothing out of control. Still 2 outs in the inning. Low again, 2-0. Nobody being held on now for St. John's. Van Dien briefly looks back over at second. In the dirt again, 3-0. An opportunity to get bases loaded for the Cadets, as they have Stewart coming to the plate. Signs being called by St. John's coaching staff. see what Van Deen decides to deliver here. And it will be right down the plate, called for a strike. Van Deen trying to get back into this count. Does not want to give up that walk. It would be his second of the inning. Coach Muth now the one delivering signs to the outfield. Veza shifting over to his right or left on WSJP. 3-1 from Van Deen in the dirt, ball 4. So St. John's load up the bases with 2 outs in the inning. As it will bring up Stewart.
Number 19, Eli Stewart.
And then Stewart looking to drive in a run or 2 for St. John's. Keenan and Iannacone meeting Van Deen at the mound. Some encouragement and game plan, if you will. Still time for Van Deen to make up for the error of his ways in this one. Van Deen likes the call from Iannacone. They just talked about it. I would assume he would. First pitch, this one fouled off. It's still in play, and it goes out of play. That was a bee flying around. I don't like that. I was talking about the bugs on Wednesday, and now the bees are flying around. You know, I knew it was a bad decision to eat the orange before the game. Nonetheless, 0-1 from Van Deen. On the inside, 1-1. Nobody being held on for St. John's. Big leads being taken by everyone. Outfield pretty in for St. Joe's Prep. 1-1 in the dirt out of Iannacone's glove. 2-1. Opportunity for the Prep to get out of this inning. Van Deen trying to tie up the count here. Van Deen takes his time. Stewart not calling time himself, and now he does. Good time call from him as Van Deen was just starting to get into his windup. Still the chirps, if you will, from the St. John's bench. Throw back to second. Locker makes the tag, but no out called. Almost got the out there. That one looked close. Taylor's on second base for St. John's as we speak. Second pitch from, the fourth pitch from Van Deen, called for a ball. One more ball, and St. John's, they can get their first run of the game. Here's the pitch, ball 4. And St. John's, they take the lead here early in this game with a walk that drives in a run.
Now batting for the Cadets, number 10, Carson Jones.
Ruddy's the one to be driven in. Carson Jones now up for St. John's, as they have taken an early lead here at the University of Maryland. First pitch, check swing, called for a strike nonetheless. Claps for Van Deen from the Hawks crowd. A pretty solid crowd for him today from St. Joe's Prep. Obviously nothing that you'll see in the, FDR. It's a long drive. Here's the 0-1 though from Van Deen. Off speed, called for a strike. George Van Deen attacking early in the count. We'll see if he continues to do so with the 0-2. The 0-2 from George Van Deen. That one got away from him. 1-2. Jones not stepping out of the batter's box here. That one just getting away from Van Deen, as I mentioned, as he delivers the 1-2. Low again. 2-2 from Van Deen now coming. Jones, he is ready. He has not really stepped out of that batter's box. He's only put 1 foot out. He's ready to roll. Iannacone jumps to his right as Van Deen delivers this one high hit foul. Oh, it might go near the PA box. Oh, it bounces off right where the Michigan State logo is. How about that? It's actually pretty nice. They got like all the colleges. I assume that's like a thing in every school. They got like all the colleges lined up, but it's like in an interesting spot here at the University of Maryland. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. 2-2 from Van Deen once again. Here it is, and fouled off again. Jones staying alive. Coaching staff giving the umpire more balls, just in case there's more fouls. Reason to believe there would be. Here's the 2-2. This one hard hit, and it will go foul. Major heart drop if you're a St. Joe's Prep fan, as that one was really hard hit. It looked like it was going to get down the line. Fortunately for the Hawks, that was not meant to be. As Van Deen looking to get out of this inning, it's been a long one. You definitely don't assume the Hawks would be warming anyone up here early. 2-2 from Van Deen. Low, called for a ball, good framing from Iannacone, full count. Now the Hawks, they have a bullpen at their disposal, so they do have their personnel in there. Not that they're warming up. Everyone's stealing on the 3-2. Here it is. This one hit to Sittler, throws on the run and makes the play to end the inning, but not before St. John's get their first run of the game. They lead 1-0 as we go to the top of the second here on WSJP. Back at it on WSJP for second inning action of St. Joseph's Prep versus St. John's. Alex Orespi up to the plate for St. Joe's Prep as he takes the first pitch for a ball. Orespi playing in that designated hitter spot today, something we don't typically see Coach Muth changing up a little bit. 304 average for Orespi, 28 plate appearances for him. Second pitch of the at-bat, drops in for a strike. Orespi, he has been starting at that second base spot, but David Locker is getting his second start there, so maybe we'll see Chris Grasso there in that left field spot, and maybe Alex Orespi could permanently move over to that designated hitter spot depending on today's game. But then you got George Van Deen. What do you do there? A lot to think about for Coach Muth and St. Joe's Prep. Good thing I'm not making those decisions. 1-2 now to Orespi. Koblenz still out there for St. John's. As Orespi swings through that one, strike three. Koblenz gets his first strikeout of the game as it brings up Jack Keenan for St. Joe's Prep. Keenan, as I mentioned, more change. I said in the top of the broadcast there wasn't much change. I think there actually is. Keenan normally bats 5th, batting 6th here today. As I mentioned, Coach Muth just doing some experimenting maybe. First pitch called for a ball. Koblenz loves to deliver that high and away ball on the very first pitch. Second one from him. That one, I thought it hit Keenan. It did not. It just bounced off the dirt before it got to him. Or the turf, that being, actually. Coach Muth encouraging his starting third baseman, 2-0 now to Jack Keenan, as he swings through that one straight to shortstop, and the play is made for the second out of the inning. Hard hit ball from Jack Keenan. Just not a lot of oomph on it, if you will. Nice play made over by Bringer at short to get the second out. Keenan now talking to Locker, as you can see on the bottom left corner of your screen, giving him some advice. First pitch to Sittler, high, ball 1. Sittler, 292 average and 28 plate appearances for him. An 810 OPS, though, as he swings through the next pitch for a strike. Also batted in 4 runs for St. Joe's Prep this season. Koblenz quick to pitch once again. He's already got 2 outs in the inning, as this one is on the inside, called for a ball. The Hawks trying to slow things down here, not swing it much. It's only been 1 or 2 swings and a miss so far in this game for St. Joe's Prep. This one in the dirt, 3-1 to Sittler. Hawks trying to maybe get him on with a walk here. Anything could help, as Koblenz has been playing well to start this contest. 3-1 to Sittler as he swings through that one. Full count. We have seen Sittler swing and miss on a couple of occasions this season, but he looks to make contact on this full count. It's high, ball 4. Sittler holds back, and he gets rewarded with a walk. Second walk of the day for St. Joe's Prep, as that will bring up David Locker. I mentioned Locker earlier. This is going to be apologize for the stoppage here on WSJP. The only time the computer has shut down on me, well, this is now the second time. So I apologize for that. But 3-1 to Locker as he swings through that one. 3-2. He didn't miss much, though. Just a foul ball and a couple of balls to Locker. But now you come in at the best time. A full count once again to the Hawks starting second baseman here today. Once again, the MacBook has only just conked out on me 2 times, and this was one of them. In my 2.5 years at St. Joe's Prep. They're back to first. No tag attempts. Sittler in standing. Locker back in the batter's box. Koblenz likes the call. Sittler, not a big lead at all over at first. Here's the pitch to Locker, and he swings and hits this one down the line. Foul. It'll go into the opposing bullpen. I don't even know who made that throw over there. I'd love to give him a shout-out, but I guess I can't. Beautifully hard hit ball from David Locker. And we know what he can do when it comes to base hits. Has 5 of them this season. As he hits this one into left center field, not too deep, and it will get down. Sittler on his way to third, and he will get in safely. Locker on his way to second, and he'll be safe. David Locker with a base hit, and I just mentioned that he has 5 hits and no doubles, no triples, no home runs, but he adds another hit right there. And now the Hawks 2 on with 2 outs in scoring position. So Locker gets the base hit and an extra base while advancing to second. Sittler on third. Kyle Allman, the 9-hole hitter for St. Joe's Prep, now up. Good thing we didn't miss David Locker's hit on WSJP. First pitch to Allman, high, ball one. Iannacone on deck for the Hawks. He's the top of the lineup. Allman making his first at-bat appearance since Father Judge a couple of weeks ago, as he takes the second pitch in this at-bat for a strike. Allman did have 2 RBIs in that game, and we'll see if he can add to that total here. Koblenz, though, he has been solid to start this game, and he looks to continue. Third pitch in the at-bat as Allman swings through that one. Allman, brief step out of the batter's box. He looks to drive in at least one. Encouragement from the crowd of St. Joe's Prep. Allman swings the bat around a couple of times as he awaits the pitch. Takes it low, ball 2. Good stop from Wilk behind the plate. Koblenz likes the call, takes a deep breath. Allman back in the batter's box. And this one will be high and on the outside. Sittler was a quarter of a way down the line, ready to roll. Full count now to Kyle Allman. Iannacone patiently awaiting in the on-deck circle. Allman fighting his way back into this count, and he will get on with a walk. Third walk of the game for Koblenz, as Iannacone will come up, who he walked in his first appearance. Taylor, the first baseman for St. John's, comes over to talk to him, and there will be a full mound visit from the cadets. You know, just after the first run scored by St. John's, the Prep looking to get a run of their own, maybe even a couple, with Emilio Iannacone coming to the plate. Just Wilk, coaching staff, and Koblenz talking it out at the mound. 2 outs, though, remain in this inning. As here comes Emilio Iannacone. As I mentioned, he walked in his first at-bat, and a walk is just as good as a hit, as that would drive in Sittler over at third. Locker at second, and now Allman at first. Koblenz delivered 4 straight balls to Iannacone, and he'll deliver his 5th straight ball to Iannacone in today's game. Koblenz likes the call early, as he drops that one in there for a strike. First strike he has thrown to Emilio Iannacone in this game. Big leads from everyone, no one being held on. Vezzo on deck for the Hawks. 1-1 to Iannacone as he chops this one through the gap for a base hit. 1 run will score. Locker, he's heading home, and he will be in safely. St. Joe's Prep have taken the lead. Well, I was interested to see why
Now batting for the Hawks.
Koblenz didn't really seem to pitch that much to Emilio Iannacone in the first at-bat, and I guess that was the reason why, as he knocks in 2 RBIs to get the Hawks their lead today. And Weaver is the complimentary runner for Iannacone over at first base. Pat Vezza now up. He's 0 for 1 today. He flew out in his first appearance. He takes the first pitch high for a ball. Hawks looking to add more. They have 2 of their speediest runners on base, Kyle Allman and John Weaver. Allman the one in scoring position at second. Being held on, throw over to second. Allman in safely. Approval from the St. Joe's Prep crowd. Grasso on deck for the Hawks. The 1-0 to Veza. Wilk has to get out of his stance to get that one. 2-0. Both pitchers seeing some control issues in this game. Has led to multiple balls and walks and whatnot, and, you know, even, I guess, runs scored. Veza hits this one high into shallow center field, and the play will be made to end the top half of the inning. But St. Joe's Prep, they get the lead 2-1 here as we go to the bottom of the second on WSJP. Great piece of hitting from St. Joe's Prep in this game. And as I mentioned, they're doing a great job of just staying composed in the box. They're not chasing. You saw that a couple of times over the past 2 games where they, you know, they may just swinging on pitches they really shouldn't have been, but they're really doing a great job. They're staying composed, and give all the shout out to Coach Muth and the coaching staff for the Hawks, realizing the errors and making sure that that was cleaned up as George Van Deen comes out for his second inning of work here at Bob Turtle Smith Stadium. As I mentioned, beautiful day here. Great crowd for both teams, really. You know, St. John's, they have a great history when it comes to baseball. They were the 5th best team in the country last season, number 1 in the D.C. area. Their only loss was a 15-1 loss to IMG Academy, but their only loss of the season. That is incredibly impressive. This season, the 40th best team in D.C., but they have some guys, and I think that they can definitely make a run moving forward. And as I mentioned last season, they had a 30-1 record. 31 games played. That's insane.
Now batting for the Cadets, number 16, Sam Wilk.
Now, Wilk now coming to the plate as the 8-hole hitter for St. John's. And he has been behind the plate in this game for the Cadets. First pitch of the second inning from Van Deen. Wilk goes to his knees, called for a ball. George Van Deen had a lot of pitches thrown in the first inning. He looks to take that down here. Didn't like the first call from Iannacone. Wilk showing bunt. That one on the outside. Will Ward definitely going to be more cautious now. Ward, he's playing directly in the sun. Shout out to him. Good framing from Iannacone as that one's called for a strike. Van Deen likes to call from Iannacone behind the plate as he sets fires and delivers. Good framing again. Oh, I thought that was going to be called for a strike, but umpire decides at the last second, no, never mind, called for a ball. Those catchers, they know. Shout out Sam Salamone. You know, he always talks about those catchers. They always know the strike zone. Wilk hits this one straight to Veza, who makes the catch for the first out of the inning. Now, I don't want to beat a dead horse on this one, but as I've mentioned, George Van Deen, you know, there's contact made off of him. But he does a really great job of making sure that the outfield works behind him, and it happens there. And showing bunt here is Byron as he hits this one straight to Van Deen. Throw over to first, made for the second out of the inning. And just like that, there are 2 outs. We saw that earlier in this game. That bunt straight to Van Deen, but he has done a great job of fielding it and making that play. First time through the order, 1 hit for the Cadets and 2 walks as Bringer comes up to the plate. He's 0 for 1 today. Two outs already in the inning. The Hawks try to bring up those hot bats. Keenan playing a bit in for the Prep as that one is off the turf for a ball. Still 2-1 here at the University of Maryland. Same location from George Van Deen, 2-0. Allman shifting to his left, our right, as you can see on the top of your screen. Good framing again from Emilio Iannicone. He's working hard behind the plate, 2-1. As a former catcher myself, maybe not as good as Iannicone. Well, definitely not as good as Iannicone. I can definitely respect it. Hard hit to Sittler, fields it cleanly. Short throw over to first, but Ward gets it off the turf to end the inning. St. Joe's Prep, they still have the lead, 2-1 over St. John's. We go to the top of the third, and we'll take a break on WSJP. We'll be back in a few moments. Chris Grasso comes up to the plate for St. Joe's Prep as we move into the third inning. Honestly, a pretty quick start here. It's only been 45 minutes. We're 2 innings in. I mean, that's not bad. First pitch to Grasso called for a strike. Not that I want to go home. Grasso 0-1. Though we do have a lacrosse game the next day. 10 a.m. on WSJP. Myself, Anthony Sorgi on the call for that one. Off speed, called for a strike. Quick 0-2 to Chris Grasso. That's going to be a great one. 10 a.m. St. Joe's Prep versus Springfield. Can't get any better than that, especially after this game. 0-2. Grasso takes it in the turf. Grasso not getting the bat off his shoulder. He did ground out in his first appearance. But Grasso very selective in this game so far. Same pitch, same location. 2-2. St. John's already warming a man up in their bullpen. I cannot get the number as we speak. Umpire calls time. Actually, so it's Grasso who called time. Umpire just comes away from the circle. Time in for Grasso, who's fought back from an 0-2 count to make it 2-2 now. And will now make it a full count. Give credit to Chris Grasso making Koblenz pitch. Seen a couple of full counts in this game. And it will work out for the Prep once again. Chris Grasso gets on with a walk. 4 walks today for St. Joe's Prep. As Will Ward comes up for the St. Joe's Prep Hawks. Ward 0-1 today. He flew out in his first appearance. But now he has another man on base as he did in his first at-bat. He's got Grasso over at first, who's taking a massive lead. First pitch to Ward, off speed, called for a strike. Interesting decision to pitch off speed to Will Ward. I guess if it was going to be on any pitch, it was going to be on the first one. We know Ward's power has a home run this season. And that home run was out of the park. Second pitch in the opposite batter's box, 1-1. That one coming against Roman Catholic just a couple of weeks ago. No, Will Ward. 2 games played against Roman Catholic. The one 2 years ago, then this year. I'm not sure what it is. He has 2 home runs off them. Off speed again to Will Ward, called for a strike. Ward stepping out of the batter's box. A bit frustrated with himself that he did not go on that one. But we'll see what he decides to do here. Grasso fought back from down 0-2. Will Ward, he's down 1-2. Pitch in the turf, gets away from Wilk for a bit. Grasso stays at first. 2-2 to Will Ward. Arespi on deck, Keenan in the hole. Still no outs in the inning. In the dirt again, it's another full count. You're going to get tired of me saying this, but the Prep, they have fought back in multiple counts. They're staying composed in that batter's box, so shout out to them. Second full count of the inning, and it will work out for the Prep again as Will Ward gets on with a walk. St. John's side not necessarily liking that call, but now 2 on with no outs for the Hawks, as there will be a mound visit from the personnel of St. John's, as Alex Arespi will come to the plate. Umpire calling over Coach Muth to discuss some baseball business, if you will. Fifth walk of the game for Koblenz. Alex Arespi up. As I mentioned, that designated hitter today for St. Joe's Prep. First time he is going to be the DH. He's 0 for 1. But now 2 runners on with no outs. Prime position. He's going to show bunt here. It'll go up the first baseline foul. Infield now going to be playing in for St. John's. The Hawks looking to advance both Ward and Grasso. Ward not the fastest runner for St. Joe's Prep, but Grasso has definitely added speed to his arsenal. 7 stolen bases. That leads the team. Taylor in as well for St. John's. And here we go, the 1-0. Arespi, he does not decide to show bunt there. And the play will be made as it goes into the St. John's dugout for the first out. Wow, what a beautiful play. I apologize, it was 0-1 on that count. But nonetheless, beautiful catch made by Taylor to get the first out of the inning. I know you couldn't see it on your screen here. I once again apologize for that. No cameraman, just me here today on WSJP, but hopefully somebody caught that. Keenan up for the Prep. First pitch, low, ball 1. Keenan getting a lot of encouragement from the crowd, and that's a shame for Alex Arespi. Looking to put together a good at-bat. Just an unfortunate pop out there. Big lead from Grasso off second, and they'll throw it back to second. Grasso barely in safe. You can all breathe if you're a Hawks fan. Just as I mentioned, I think these guys are hearing me today. I don't know what it is. Throw back to second again. Grasso, my goodness, barely safe again, and he might hold back on his lead just a bit there. Koblenz, 2 quick throwbacks. Well, never mind. Grasso going to take a big lead as ever. He's still being held on. 1-0 to Keenan. That one high and away. 2-0. Coach Muth yelling something over at Keenan and gets him to look back. Now there's calls from Coach Connolly over there, over at third. Maybe a possible double steal or maybe even bunt. We'll see. Keenan does not show bunt as he fouls this one back. I'm just going to stop trying to encrypt signs. Definitely not my thing. Keenan calls time as he once again receives signs from the coaching staff. 2-1 to Jack Keenan. Keenan is 0 for 1 today. And he hardly hits this one into left center field. The catch will be made for the second out. Everybody holds. What a beautifully hit ball there from Jack Keenan. Not going to lie, I thought that one had enough to get into the gap or maybe even out of the park. That one was hard hit. off the bat. I hope someone got that velocity. Sittler up for the prep. He walked in his first appearance. The Hawks started with 2 on, no outs, and now there's 2 on with 2 outs. Not in a great position for the prep, but Sittler trying to drive these runs in as he gets the first pitch called for a ball. The Hawks still up 2-1. Locker on deck for the prep. He does have a hit in this game. Throw back to second. They are holding on Grasso. Locker already with a base hit in this game, so maybe if Sittler can get on, Locker can drive something in. Throw back to first now. Ward was not being held on, so Taylor not really in position to make that tag. And Ward, he's just been in the sun all day. Nonetheless, 1-0 to Sittler. Cohen's looking, both runners back. Off speed, called for a strike. Advice and encouragement from the crowd of St. Joe's Prep. As I'm looking at the crowd, even Dr. Rapertis made his way here. That guy is dedicated. Time called by Sittler. A lot of dedicated fans. Probably more than I expected, actually, now that we're in the third inning and I'm taking a look around. 1-1 to Sittler after the time. As he hits this one straight to third, and the tag is made to end the top half of the inning. The Hawks, they get 2 runners on with no outs, but they can't do anything with them. We go to the bottom of the third. George Van Dien going to make his way out. You might be able to see him. I don't know if you can. Shout out Drew Z in center field taking photos. I don't know how he got up there. I didn't even know there was a platform until I saw him there. I have no idea, but shout out to him. Crazy story how he got here today. I didn't even think we were going to make it to this game because we were going to, get ready for that lacrosse game tomorrow versus Springfield. But then I was talking to Cole Kuhn on, I think it was Monday, and he said, "Hey, you coming? We're coming back the same night. It'll be great." And I was like, "You know what? All right, let's just do it." So I made sure I got everything together, brought Drew Z out with me. He'll have some photos. Follow us on Instagram at SJP Broadcasting. Stay up to date with everything St. Joe's Prep sports and also the photography, as he'll have his photos posted in the coming days. So funny story, a crazy story about how we got out here. A lot to work through. So we left school at 12 p.m. today, and we got things going. Big day though at St. Joe's Prep. I mean, the announcement of Mr. Halley's donation to the prep to make the school up to date with what the prep wants the Jesuit education to look like. Just absolutely incredible. So shout out to Mr. Halley and his love for St. Joe's Prep. Love that I wish we all could express in that way, but Mr. Halley doing a great job in what he does, and a big donation made to the prep. Really great. And hopefully the Hawks can reward that with a win. A lot of local news covering that. Pitch called for a strike, and if you go to St. Joseph's Prep Instagram, you'll actually see the photos of what it will all look like when, the new athletic complex is completed. So go look on St. Joseph's Prep Instagram to see that. Second straight pitch from Van Dien called for a strike. He's making his third inning of work here. He does have Ruddy up, who hit a base hit in his first appearance. This one low, ball 2. I could go on and on about how excited I am for the future, especially of WSJP. Mr. Marinacci ensuring us that there will be a press area for WSJP. even though I won't be there, maybe somebody else will get that opportunity. Love to see it. Maybe I'll have to come back and get a good look at it. I think Mr. Abington and Mr. Burns would let me in. I'm a pretty nice guy. 2-2 to the Ruddy. Van Dien looking for a strikeout. It would be his first of the game. 2-2. Here it is. Ruddy high hits this one into right field. Veza running in on it, and he makes the catch. Van Dien letting the outfield work behind him as Jenkins will come up to the plate. Nice catches made in the corner outfield by both Veza and Grasso. Routine plays. Sometimes those fundamentals, you need them. You always need them. Jack Keenan playing a bit in, still on that brown turf you see. First pitch called for a strike on Jenkins, who is 0 for 1 today. As Van Dien delivers. As this one is hit to David Locker, fields it cleanly, play over to first, made for the second out of the inning. Love to see the effort from Van Dien trying to get that one before it got to Locker. It was a blessing in disguise as it got to Locker. Locker, as we know, beautiful defensive player. He also plays catcher as well, so maybe we could see him slide over to that spot when Emilio Iannicum graduates next year, but that's way too in the future. I like to talk about now. But as we know, Locker, a incredible defensive catcher. Also incredible at second base defensively as well. Nice off-speed pitch from Van Dien, called for a ball. 2 quick outs, though, for George Van Dien. Does not want to let runners on as Taylor comes up to the plate for the Cadets. As he hits this one to Pat Veza on a line, and he makes the catch to end the inning. George Van Dien goes 1-2-3 as we are halfway through this game and on to the bottom, or the top of the 4th inning, I apologize, here on WSJP. Fourth inning here on WSJP. David Locker making his way to the plate for St. Joe's Prep. 1 for 1 today with a base hit is David Locker. First pitch to him called for a ball. Locker telling something to Kyle Almond. A lot of photography and videography out here. We have Ryan McKenna, Drew Z, and CJD Films. That is a dynamic trio. Second pitch to Locker called for a ball. Another ball to Locker, 3-0. Due up is Locker, Allman, and then Top with Emilio Iannacone. Ball 4. David Locker gets on with a walk. 6 walk total of the game for St. Joe's Prep.
Number 11, Kyle Allman.
It's now Kyle Allman at the plate. Allman, he walked in his first plate appearance. Looks to get on again with a man on first. 4 straight balls to David Locker gets him on base. First pitch to Kyle Allman. That one in there for a strike. Encouragement from Coach Stins. Shout out. Allman shows bunt, and it's a nice one to the mound. It'll advance Locker over to second. Allman out at first, but he gets the job done.
Now batter for the Hawks, number 13, Emilio Iannacone.
Do apologize for failing to mention Cuddy on the mound for St. John's. Iannacone now up, top of the order for the Prep as he takes the first pitch out for a ball. St. John's not really pitching much to Iannacone, and probably for good reason. He got on with a walk in his first appearance. Also 1 for 1 today. In his last appearance, had 2 RBIs on the base hit that he knocked. 1-0 to Iannacone. And he hard hits this one into right center field. The catch is made. Allman, he is tagging. I apologize, Locker was the one who was tagging, and he'll stay over at third. Nice hit from Iannacone, drives Locker over to third, and now Pat Vezza has to get a base hit or an infield hit or something, or a balk, I don't know, whatever, just to drive in David Locker. Too many technicalities in the game of baseball. Vezza 0 for 2 today. First pitch to him on the outside, called for a strike. Cuddy looking to get out of this inning with no damage done. Grasso on deck for the Hawks. 0-1 to Vezza, and he chops this one over to short. It's going to be a tough play. Vezza's halfway down the line, but the play is made for the out. St. Joe's Prep, they get a man over to third. They can't do anything with him. We go to the bottom of the 4th here on WSJP. Score is still 2-1. And some more St. John's history for you. You know, the school that dates back over to 1851, but only in the late 1900s did St. John's actually establish a baseball team. And that's something there. Baseball, one of the oldest sports in the history of the world. So something interesting to note there, but St. John's, as I mentioned earlier, you know, the 5th best team in the country last year, a 30-1 record. Only loss was to IMG Academy, obviously known as one of the best baseball teams in the country as well. So that's something interesting there. You know, just in a short amount of time, St. John's, they've been able to establish a program that is nationally recognized, and obviously the Prep, you know, willing to come out here to D.C. and play them. And it's great to play at the University of Maryland. I especially love it. The sun's not burning down on me. Beautiful fields, beautiful atmosphere. You know, I talked to a couple of people for St. John's before the game, and we were talking about, you know, the Philly area of St. Joe's Prep. Talked about the St. John's area as well and what that's like. Beautiful community out here for St. John's. Especially great that they play at they're playing at the University of Maryland in this game. I mean, you don't see a college stadium host this like baseball games.
Now batting for the Cadets, number 7, Jake Armiger.
But nonetheless, back at it. Armiger up for St. John's. He walked in his first appearance. And he hits this one straight to Sittler off his glove for a base hit. Really hard hit there.
Now batting for the Cadets.
The tough
number
play
19,
for
Eli
Sittler.
Stewart.
But now a runner on off the first pitch for St. John's, and now Stewart is up. Big lead for Armiger over at first. Ward holding him on. First pitch to Stewart outside. Good catch from Iannacone. Got his glove over it. Hawks in double play opportunity. Keenan playing a bit in. Has played in a lot today. Still light out here at 7 o'clock, and that's what I love to see, honestly. I hate when it gets dark early. Throw back to first. Ward doesn't attempt the tag. Hate when it gets dark early. Just don't like that. You know, the winter is good for St. Joe's Prep basketball and hockey, but I can't deal when it gets dark at, so early. I need those longer days. Maybe I'm just, the only one. Throw back to first again. Van Deen trying to hold him on. Armiger, that being on first. He's taking that massive lead. One 1-0 to Van Deen. Or from Van Deen, I apologize. On the outside again, 2-0. Give a shout out to Emilio Iannacone once again behind the plate. He has made such incredible plays. Just making sure that the ball does not go to the backstop on a few occasions. Any other catcher, I think that ball probably would have went to the backstop. 2-0 off the dirt, and another great catch from Iannacone. 3-0. The Hawks trying to prevent a man in scoring position early. The prep earlier, they did have a man on first and second with no outs, and it ended in nobody advancing anymore as St. John's were able to shut them down. Maybe the Hawks trying to shut that down themselves. Bunt being shown, interestingly, by Stewart. But Van Deen pitches this one right down the middle, called for a strike. Not necessarily sure if Van Deen called him on his bluff there. Interesting decision to show bunt on a 3-0 count. But St. John's, they did it earlier with a 2-0 count. So maybe it's not out of the ordinary for them. 3-1, Van Deen trying to work his way back in it, as this one will softly be hit into right field for a base hit. Beza backhands as he gets it in quickly. 2 runners on with no outs for the Cadets.
Number 10, Carson Jones.
Carson Jones now up for St. John's. He's 0 for 1 today. Coach Cavallaro going out to talk to George Van Deen, so will the rest of the infield. As he's given up 2 base hits early in this 4th inning. We've seen Van Deen go long distances. He went a solid amount against Germantown Academy just a week ago. He did go 5 in that one. Actually, I apologize. I believe he just went 4. So we'll see what Coach Muth decides to do once this inning ends, or maybe the Hawks will get somebody warming up. I do believe they actually have somebody warming up currently. Yes, they do. They have Nolan Cobb getting ready in the pen. So we'll possibly see Cobb in this inning if things start to get out of hand, or in the next inning. But as I mentioned, Jones up to the plate for St. John's. He's 0 for 1 today, but St. John's, they have been able to knock in a couple hits here, so we'll see if Jones can do the same. He shows bunt, and it's a beautiful one. And no throw from Keenan. Bases loaded.
Now batting for the Cadets, number 16, Sam Wilk.
Just unfortunate for St. Joe's Prep. He didn't expect the bunt there. And now bases are loaded with no outs. The Hawks here are going to be lucky to maybe get out of this one with just 1 run scored. We'll see what St. John's does. Wilk is up. So it goes Wilk, Byers, and then Bringer. So 8-9-1 for St. John's. Wilk hits this one to Locker, but it goes by him for a hit. Stewart being waved home, and he will get in safely. St. John's have taken the lead. Four straight hits for St. John's. It gets them 2 runs and gets them a lead. The Hawks, they've held the lead for the most of this game. But now Barnes trying to continue this reign for St. John's. Trevor Hamilton going to be the complimentary runner on first. Ringer on deck for St. John's as Barnes. He tries to maybe knock in another run. Still no outs in the inning for St. John's. They are in the best position they could possibly be. Bunt being shown. Ball on the outside. 1-0. Coach Muth keeping the same expression he has all game. Just ready for the next one. Ward playing in, bunt being shown again, and it is another great bunt in front of the mound. Van Deen makes the throw over to first for the first out of the inning, but both runners do advance for St. John's. The Hawks, they get what they needed, their first out, but give credit where credit is due to St. John's. They've jumped their batting average to a team batting average of 357. Bringer now up for St. John's. Infield in for St. Joe's Prep. Ball on the outside. So now both runners in scoring position for the Cadets. The Hawks just trying to hold St. John's at a 1-run lead in the bottom of the 4th. Good framing from Iannacone, called for a ball again. I apologize there. Two and out from Van Deen. This one hit straight to him off his leg. It's going to be a tough play for Ward. He tries to make the tag. He can't. And that will score a run. Just unlucky for St. Joe's Prep.
Now batting for the Cadets, number 29, Maddie Rudy.
And Coach Muth coming out to the mound for the Hawks. That will most likely do it for George Van Deen. Looking towards the bullpen is Coach Muth. And maybe they'll keep him out there. And they will keep George Van Deen out there for just a little bit. Applause from the St. Joe's Prep crowd. Going to bring up Rudy to the mound for St. John's. Now runners on the corners with 1 out for the Cadets. First pitch from Van Deen. Bunt being shown again. It has worked out for St. John's in this game, especially in the last couple of innings. Cobb still warming up for St. Joe's Prep in the bullpen. Actually, now it looks like it's Shane Meisler warming up. Bunt being shown, and it is called for a strike. One and one now from Van Deen, trying to get the second out of the inning, and that is what the Hawks need. See how the Hawks fare getting the bats off their shoulder when the top of the 5th comes around. Bunt being shown again. Down the plate for a strike on the off speed. George Van Deen looking for a strikeout. Rudy being told to step out of the box, and he steps back in after the signs are drawn. Maybe a double steal, possibly. Here's the 1-2. That one high. Maybe a bit of a pitch out, if you will, from Van Deen and Iannacone. Locker and Sittler getting into position for a possible steal. 2-2 from Van Deen, though. Runner still in the corners for St. John's. And this one is hit to Sittler. It's going to be a tough play. It goes off his glove. Another run will score. It is now 5-2 St. John's.
Now batting for the Cadets, number 8, Jack Jenkins.
Jenkins now coming up as Coach Muth will call in the bullpen. He comes out for the second time. And that will do it for George Van Deen today. 5 runs given up. Two of his earned runs are on base currently. Shout out to George Van Deen. Pitched a solid game as the Hawks will call in Shane Meisler from the bullpen to try and get out of this inning. Down 5-2 with 2 runners on. We'll take a break on WSJP. We'll be back in a few moments. Shane Meisler gets done his warm-up and now looks to finish off this 4th inning here on WSJP. Double steal. Iannacone holds the throw at home. Jenkins 0 for 2 today. Looking to now knock in these 2 runs that are in scoring position. Second pitch of the at-bat call for a ball. One and one to Jenkins. Meisler delivers. So Jenkins fouls this one back. Meisler this season, a 4.2 ERA, 5 runs given up, 4 hits, and 5 innings pitched. And 5 total appearances this season. Now has Jenkins down in the count, 1-2. As Jenkins swings on this one. Almost got the PA guy. Still 1-2 though. Miser waves off Iannicone once. Still has the 1-2. That one on the outside. The Prep, they were ready to cheer for that one, but it's called for a ball. 2-2. Sun's starting to set here at the University of Maryland. 2-2. Jenkins hits this one hard to Grasso, and he makes the catch. Tag from third in safely. St. John's score another run. It's 6-2.
Now batting for the Cadets, number 11, Gabe Taylor.
Taylor now up. The Hawks have 2 outs in the inning. Runner still on second for the Cadets. As I just said, 2 outs in the inning. Meisler looks back over at second. First pitch on the outside and low. 1-0. I'm looking down. Drew Z taking photos just behind the fence. I don't know what lens he's got. That is a big thing. Gee-miny. 1-0. Same location from Meisler. 2-0. That last run was the earned run of George Van Deen. Encouragement from the crowd of St. Joe's Prep, specifically from Dr. Rupertus. Meisler steps off the mound. Two-0 from Meisler. Same location again. 3-0. 1 run on would not be the end of the world for the Hawks, but they would like to get out of this inning. This has been a longer inning, the longest of this game. Meisler steps off. Coach Muth just going to walk Taylor. Not going to let the pitch take place. Taylor gets on with his second walk today. Arminger now up.
Cadets, number 7, Jake Armiger.
I think me and the PA guy have different pronunciations of this, but it's okay. First pitch. Meisler drops it in for a strike on the off speed. Meisler awaits the call from Iannicone, who jumps to his right. This one hit to Sittler, and he'll make the throw over to first to end the inning, but not before St. John's turn this game upside down. They have made it a 6-2 ball game here at the University of Maryland. We'll take a short break on WSJP. We'll be back in a few moments. The Prep looking to get those runs back here in the 5th inning. Chris Grasso looking to start that off. First pitch to him called for a strike. Grasso 0 for 1 today with a walk. Cuddy, he did make sure the Hawks did not score as they had a runner on third in the top of the 4th. Grasso swings on that one. Nice pitch for a strike. It's 0-2. Will Ward on deck for the Prep. The Hawks, they do have 2 more opportunities after this one to get these runs back. So we'll see how they fare. But they would like to get going now as Grasso hits this one foul out of play. Interestingly enough, the Hawks, they have the big bullpen in St. John's. They just have like the mound and the plate. I don't know if that's like, I don't know if Maryland typically takes that as the home team. I would assume they would take the one, I don't know, like the big one, I don't know. But St. John's, shout out, they give the Prep the big bullpen as Grasso takes this one for a ball. Ward on deck for the Hawks. 1-2 to Grasso. He takes this one on the outside once again. 2-2. Ever since the second strike, Chris Grasso was held back on swing on the outside. I mentioned in his first at-bat, he does lead the team in strikeouts, and maybe he's trying to be a little bit more cautious on what he swings at. Infield back for St. John's. Gutsy take from Chris Grasso as he was ready to take the walk there, but it's a full count. I thought I had the count wrong. I got scared. Luckily for me, I got it right. Full count to Chris Grasso. We've seen full counts a multitude of times in this game. And Grasso will hit this one to short, fielded cleanly. Throw is made for the out.
Now batting for the Hawks, number 28, William Ward.
Will Ward up. He's 0 for 1 today with a walk. In that inning where Grasso and Ward got on, the Hawks, they had an opportunity to score, but they could not get anything done with no outs and 2 runners on. They look to try to get these runners on again here. Cuddy, he is playing well, coming in to relieve as the first pitch is a strike. The Hawks typically, they play well against relievers, but Cuddy today with that sidearm could be confusing the Prep a little bit. Pitch on the outside, called for a ball. Nobody warming up currently for St. Joe's Prep, so Miser will possibly be pitching the next inning as Ward hits this one down the line for a base hit. This one will go to the wall. Ward, he's heading for second. He'll get in standing. That is what the Prep needed. A double gets them going here in the top of the 5th. First extra base hit for the Hawks in this game. As Arespi comes up to the plate. Now Alex Arespi. He is 0 for 2 today, but he looks to get the Hawks going with a possible run. Ward being somewhat held on over at second. First pitch to Arespi, takes it in the dirt, 1-0. Ward holds at second. I keep saying dirt, but it's turf down there. I don't know. I think I'll just say turf. Or at least I'll try to. It's just kind of natural, you know what I mean? Arespi stands in as the designated hitter today. And he gets clipped there. He'll get on with a hit by pitch. It's just something about Alex Arespi and getting hit by a pitch. He's gotten hit by a pitch 6 times this year. I don't know what the deal is when it comes to him getting hit by pitches. I guess it's as good as a hit. I just wouldn't want to get hit by a pitch that much. Maybe Alex Arespi will take it. I don't know. Jack Keenan up for the Hawks. He's 0 for 2 today. Cuddy trying to prevent any runs scored. First pitch on the outside, 1-0. Keenan this season, 4 RBIs, looking to knock in another. Batting .250 on the year coming in this game. Solid for Jack Keenan. Pitch low again. Keenan, great story. Got some time in his sophomore year to hit as well as play. Started last year as the first baseman, now moves over to third. Also committed to Chestnut Hill College. Great story for Jack Keenan here on the varsity level for the Hawks. He takes the third pitch in the at-bat for a strike. Wild throw from Wilk back over to the mound. Cuddy making sure everybody stays where they are. Arespi not being held on over at first. On the outside again to Jack Keenan, 3-1. The Hawks looking to load the bases up for Johnny Sittler, who is on deck. Cuddy, though, he has something to say about that. He has been great thus far, preventing nothing in his last inning pitched, even though he let runners on, trying to replicate that here. And he walks Jack Keenan. The Hawks load the bases with the tying run. Johnny Sittler coming to the plate for St. Joe's Prep. Infield mound visit for the Cadets. Now coaching staff will come out for St. John's. We'll see if they decide to go to someone new. I don't believe they will. Sittler, Locker, and Ullman, though there are 2 outs in the inning, so we could possibly just see Sittler and Locker. Oh, the lights are on here at the University of Maryland. That gets some approval from the crowd. Love to see it. CJ, I know you like that. I know you like that. That's good for the camera. There we go. CJD Films, as I mentioned here, for St. Joe's Prep. More baseball games this year for CJ. Love to see it. Also for Ryan McKenna. Shout out to them. Check out St. Joe's Prep Baseball on Instagram to see their clips. One out in the inning. Nobody being held on. Sittler up to the plate. First pitch to him, taken for a ball. Sittler telling Ward to hold it over at third. Locker on deck, as I mentioned, for the Prep. 1-0 to Sittler. The Hawks trying to get some runs after a 5-run fourth inning from the Cadets. Good framing behind the plate. Sittler shaking his head. Another ball. A lot of intensity in this at-bat here. On the outside again, 3-0 now. Good job from Wilk to make sure that one didn't go to the backstop. Both catchers doing a great job today, making sure nothing getting past them. Being extra cautious in that category of the game. 3-0 to Sittler. Called for a strike. That one just a bit more inside than the last few. Sittler not deciding to go on that 3-0. Hawks not taking risks here in that department. Not swinging on that 3-0. Obviously a big debate. Do you swing on a 3-0 or not? That one a bit inside. Sittler was getting ready to go for a walk, but it's a full count. Full count. Big intensity moment here. Both teams' crowds yelling and clapping and everything. Here it is, the 3-2. Sittler softly hits this one down the third base line, and it goes foul. Now the Prep moms did, and they getting a little rally going with the claps. I actually like to see that. Maybe we need more of that. Maybe the student section can do that if they, maybe get out to a baseball game. When's the next PCL game? Next Wednesday? Archbishop Ryan? Maybe. I don't know. We won't be there on WSJP. We have to go to lacrosse that day versus LaSalle. So stay up to date, as I mentioned earlier, St. Joe's Prep Baseball, to make sure you get the score for that one. 3-2 to Sittler again. On the outside, no doubt about it. Ball 4. St. Joe's Prep get a run. That will most likely do it for Cuddy today. And it will. Give him credit where credit is due. He's had a solid game. All 3 of his earned runs are currently on base. So we'll take a break on WSJP. We'll be back in a few moments. David Locker looking to drive in some runs. He is the leading run for St. Joe's Prep as we speak. He's 1 for 1 today, has a single and a walk. As he hits this one into right field, the catch will be made. The tag over to home and third are both successful, and St. Joe's Prep get a run. It is now 6-4. St. John's still with the lead. So, Arespi scored. Keenan went to home. Sittler stays at first. Kyle Allman now up. 2 outs in the inning. Runners on the corners for the St. Joe's Prep Hawks. Keenan and Sittler on base. Kyle Allman looking to knock in at least one. Sittler stealing down over to second, and he is safe. Ball dropped out of the hands. Lucky for Sittler, he was late on that one. But he is able to get in safely with a stolen base. The first successful stolen base today for St. Joe's Prep. Now both runners in scoring position, so Allman see if he can possibly tie the game with a base hit. Pitch high, 2-1. Bernstein is the one in the game for St. John's. He is a Washington and Lee commit. Top pitch is a fastball, changeup, and curveball. Tops 81 miles an hour on that fastball. Pitch outside. Kyle Allman looking to get on for Emilio Iannicone and load the bases up. 3-0 to Kyle Allman. We saw Cuddy get back into the at-bat against Sittler when he was down 3-0. This one in for a strike. Sittler was able to walk that go-around. Bernstein looking to change that, get an out, and end the inning. Trying to hold the Hawks at just 2 runs scored in this inning. 3-1 now to Kyle Allman, and he takes it outside, ball 4. Bases loaded for St. Joe's Prep. Allman gets his second walk of the day, and here comes Emilio Iannicone, who is 1 for 2 today with a base hit. Iannicone looking to tie this game up. Allman is the leading runner on first. Keenan on third, Sittler on second. Sittler currently only one with a sliding glove out there. Protect your fingers. Iannicone takes the first pitch for a strike. I don't know, I guess sliding gloves, or mitts, whatever they call them. Well, they're the same thing. I guess they're heavily debated. I mean, do they help or do they not help? I don't know, I never used one. I never thought to use one. Iannicone almost got hit. That one curved in at just the right moment. CJ telling me it nicked him, but umpire does not agree with that one. It's 1-1. That was close. I thought the Hawks were going to get a run there. Pitch on the outside, 2-1. Iannicone brushes the sweat off his face with his jersey as he looks to get a runner in for St. Joe's Prep. I still can't get over that one almost hitting him. That pitch just barely getting in. Iannicone hits this one hard into the gap for a base hit. 1 run will score. Sittler, he is speeding it home. He will score as well. St. Joe's Prep have tied this thing up. Emilio Iannicone.
Now batting for the Hawks, number 30, Patrick Betts.
That is 4 RBIs on the day for Emilio Iannicone. Sittler around the bases. I couldn't even find the adjective for that one. He was moving. Pat Vezza up to the plate. He's 0 for 1 today. I'm sorry, 0 for 3, I apologize. As St. Joe's Prep, they have tied this thing up. Weaver on first for Iannicone. As Vezza hits this one softly into left field. The catch will be made by Stewart to end the top half of the inning. But St. Joe's Prep have gotten themselves back into this game. It's tied at 6 as we go to the bottom of the 5th. Short break here on WSJP. We'll be back in a few moments. Tie ball game here at the University of Maryland. Shane Meisler coming out to try and shut down St. John's as Stewart will come to the plate for the Cadets. First pitch to him, takes for a ball. Second pitch to him, he takes for a strike. Meisler, as I mentioned, looking to shut down St. John's here after a incredible 5-run fourth inning from the Cadets as Stewart swings through that one for a strike. 1-2 now coming from Meisler. Stewart had to take a deep breath as he stepped out of the batter's box. Meisler quick to it, ready to deliver, and strikes him out. St. Joe's Prep get their first overall strikeout of the game.
Number 10, Carson Jones.
And Shane Meisler, double-digit strikeouts now on the year with 10. Milestone for the first-year varsity man. First pitch to Jones in for a strike on the outside. Good job from Iannacone and Meisler. Nobody warming up for St. Joe's Prep. St. John's, they do have somebody warming up in their bullpen. Second pitch from Meisler in the at-bat. Another strike called just on the outside. 0-2. St. Joe's Prep looking to get this momentum back. Allman shifting over to his left. So will Chris Grasso. 0-2. Meisler looking to continue the work. Here it is. Check swing. Fouled. Well, shout out the first base coach of St. John's making a crisp throw over to Meisler. Jones steps back in, awaits the pitch. Blocker shifts a bit as Meisler delivers. Almost doesn't put it in. That looked good, but umpire holds back on that one, which I do say it was a bit on the outside. Good call, I would say. 1-2 from Meisler. Puts it high, ball 2. That one almost looked like a balk, if I'm being honest here, as the umpire goes out to talk to Meisler. I think for that reason, I think he's just going to give him a warning on his movement. I suppose he's not allowed to do the movement he's doing with his leg. Umpire giving him that warning as we move forward. 2-2. Meisler up in the count, not trying to make this a full one, though. Here it is, the 2-2. Fouled back from Jones, just gets it on the top of his bat. A nice sunset here at the University of Maryland. You see the lights on. It's just a beautiful sky. Great day to play baseball. 2-2 from Meisler again, as Jones stays alive, fouls it back. Both teams putting on a display when it comes to runs. Five runs from St. John's, 4 from St. Joe's Prep in the top half of the inning. A lot of offense being displayed. This one high, ball 3. Not going to lie, I was getting ready to call a strikeout there. But that one just a bit high. Here's a full count. Meisler, he deals. As Jones hits this one softly to Locker, feels it cleanly. Quick throw over to first is made for the second out of the inning. Great job from Jones to stay alive in that at-bat. But give credit to Meisler and Locker, who was playing very nice today over at second base. Had to make a bit of a quick throw there, as I don't think he expected Jones to get down the line that fast. Wilk now up. First pitch to him on the outside, called for a ball. Good framing from Iannacone. Now I'm just noticing that CJ just left his hat up here with me. What am I supposed to do with it? Am I supposed to wear it? Maybe this is a test or something. I don't know. 2-0 from Meisler. Meisler trying to get back into this count here on Wilk. Puts it on the inside, 3-0. Wilk, a hard hitter, maxes his exit velo at 90. Very solid. Meisler puts us on the outside, ball 4. Fourth total walk of the game for St. Joe's Prep. Meisler puts in his 6th walk of the season.
Number 12, Gunnar Champion.
Pinch hitter for St. John's, as Champion will now come in as the pinch hitter. Now, as it's just me, I got to edit that on the scoreboard, so give me a minute. I think Coach Muse was a bit surprised about that one, too. I don't even think he expected that. Nonetheless, here we go. Champion trying to advance. Wilk over at first. Gets the ball 1. Champion coming in for the first time today. I mean, an exit velo of 97. I guess there's a reason you want him in the game. Throw back to first. There's been no tag attempts from Ward on the pickoff. Meisler taking his time. That's 1-0. That one low. 2-0 now. Meisler had a great start. Now looking to get back in it after a bit of adversity now being faced. Grasso shifting. Meisler looks back over at first. Takes a deep breath. And this one is softly hit to the mound. Meisler loses it. Has to recover. He does. Underhands it over to Ward, and that ends the inning. Shane Meisler making sure no more runs are scored from St. John's. We go to the top of the 6th. 2 more on WSJP. We'll take a break. We'll be right back. Two more here on WSJP. Chris Grasso leading things off for St. Joe's Prep. He takes the first pitch high, ball 1. Grasso 0 for 2 today with a walk. Looks to get on for the second time with Will Ward on deck for St. Joe's Prep. That one looked like it was about to clip Grasso, but it swings back in for a strike. That almost happened to Iannico. Now it almost happened to Grasso. I mean, I don't know if it's just Bernstein in his pitches, but these ones are flying in. Time called by Grasso. As he swings on that one on the outside, called for a strike. 1-2. Grasso steps back into the box after the swing and miss. And he swings on that one again, strikes out. Second total strikeout of the game for St. John's. There's not been a lot of strikeouts here today.
Now batting for the Hawks, number 28, William Ward.
So Ward now comes up for St. Joe's Prep. Ward, 1 for 2 today, had a double in his last at-bat. Also got on with a walk. Takes the first pitch high, ball 1, just on the outside corner. Alex Orespi on deck for the Hawks. Off speed, called for a ball once again. Will Ward. The Gwinnett Mercy commit, having a great season. The best batting average on the team for St. Joe's Prep. That one called on the outside again. 3-0. And Will Ward coming into the season, didn't expect him to have, the best statistics on the team as he gets on with a walk. I think we expected you look at all the talent on this team. You look, Grasso and all these other guys, Sittler and Veza and Will Ward has just played so great. And you love to see it. You really do. John Weaver going to be the complimentary runner for Will Ward over at first. 2 walks today for Will Ward, as he notches his 10th walk of the season. I mean, I wouldn't want to pitch to Will Ward either, so it makes sense. Throw back to first on Weaver. Gets out of the glove of Taylor. That was a close one if it would have stayed in his glove. But Alex Orespi now up for St. Joseph's Prep. Orespi 0 for 2 today. Also got hit by a pitch in his last at-bat. Weaver, big lead off first. Orespi swings on this one, and he hits it into right field. The play will be made for the second out of the inning. Good cut from Alex Orespi as Jack Keenan looks to advance. Weaver over.
Now batting for the Hawks, number 5, Jack Keenan.
Keenan is over 2 today with a walk. The Hawks with 10 total walks as a team. Something you don't see every day. The Hawks getting base runners on, and it has led to 6 runs. None here in the top of the 6. We'll see if that changes possibly with Jack Keenan as Bernstein steps off the mound. Here comes the first pitch of the at-bat. Keenan takes it high, ball 1. Throw back to first. Weaver slides in safely. They are holding him on a lot today. They don't want him to run, and for good reason. Weaver, Van Deen, and Alman, they all kind of compete for the fastest guy on the team. Throw back to first again. We can't even get any pitches on this at-bat. Weaver just taking too big of a lead. Credit to him, though. He's getting back safely. 1-0 to Keenan. That one on the outside, 2-0. Could possibly see some pitch outs as they don't want Weaver stealing. I'm not sure if Weaver's going to go after all these pickoff attempts, and there will be another one as Weaver gets in safely. Tie ball game here at the University of Maryland. Bob Turtle Smith Stadium. 2-0. Keenan takes that one at the head. 3-0. The Hawks looking to get a man in scoring position for Johnny Sittler. Bernstein looking Weaver back once again. Here's the pitch as Keenan takes it high again. Ball 4. St. Joe's Prep get a man in scoring position with 2 outs, and it all is now reliant on John Sittler. 0 for 1 today with 2 walks. Or 0 for 1 today, I apologize, with 2 walks. meet between Bernstein and Taylor at the mound, and now we'll get a actual mound visit. We'll see if that does it for Bernstein today. And it will, as the dugout comes to greet him. That'll do it for him. It'll bring in Wyatt Nicholson for the St. John's Cadets. So they're making sure nothing gets out of hand here, trying to keep this a tied ball game here on WSJP. We'll be back in a few moments. Two runners on for St. Joe's Prep as Johnny Sittler comes to the plate for the Hawks. Sittler 0 for 1 today with 2 walks, as I mentioned. First pitch to him, and he hits this one to third, and it will get through for a hit. Weaver being held at third. Bases are now loaded with 2 outs. Now all reliant on David Locker for St. Joe's Prep to take the lead here in the top of the 6th. Locker 1 for 1 today with a walk. Pressure is on. Nicholson in the game for St. John's. Here's the first pitch to Locker. He takes for a strike. That one a bit high. Locker leaving the plate a bit upset maybe. He didn't swing at that one. Nicholson, though, has 2 good pitches in his arsenal. That fastball and the curveball. Top 77 miles an hour on that fastball as only a sophomore. As Locker hits this one to third. It will not be fielded cleanly. Throw it to first. It is made! 2 and the top half of the inning. St. John's, they get out of the inning with no damage done. We go to the bottom of the 6th. Man, oh man. What an inning there. The Hawks almost taking the lead. And now the Hawks will go back to Meisler to see if he can pitch another inning to get rid of St. John's as we move into 1.5 more innings on WSJP. St. John's, one of the most dominant high school baseball programs of all time, definitely of the last, almost decade and a half now. From 2010 to 2020, 9 WCAC championships. Also some notable alumni. James Wood playing for the Washington Nationals, batting .256 on the season. One of the best young players in the MLB. So some notable alumni for St. John's. A lot of history at that school.
Number 1, Jackson Bringer.
Top of the order for St. John's. Bringer up to the plate. He's 1 for 3 today with a base hit. Bottom of the 6th. 1.5 more innings left to go here at the University of Maryland. Sun is completely set. The lights are on. It is Friday Night Lights. Just in baseball. First pitch from Meisler. In for a strike. Bringer hits this one to short, and it gets by Sittler for a base hit. Bringer about a quarter of a way to second base as he holds. He gets on with his second hit of the day. St. John's batting .391 as a team today.
Number 29, Maddie Ruddy.
As Ruddy is now up. Saw this story earlier. St. John's getting guys on early. They were able to score. Hopefully for the Hawks, that is not going to be the same fate. Throw back to first. No tag attempted. Give credit to St. John's. They have not made the prep even attempt to tag. They've been in so quickly. Though the leads are pretty solid, as you see on the right of your screen. Bunt being shown from Ruddy. That's going to be a ball as Iannacone fakes the throwdown. Meisler sharply looking Bringer back, and he throws over to first. No tag attempt once again. Ruddy steps back into the batter's box. Saw St. John's have a lot of pickoff attempts in the last inning. Ruddy shows bunt again, and it's a good one as Meisler fields it, throws over to first. The play is made for the out, but it will advance Bringer over to second. Sacrifice an out for a base runner. Definitely a deal that most teams will take. Jenkins now up. So now a man in scoring position for St. John's. Ward and Keenan playing on the green. First pitch in for a strike. Nice framing from Iannacone. Definitely a ticky-tacky call. St. John's, if they can score here, would give the prep only one more opportunity to score a run. So the Hawks desperately trying to shut St. John's down in this one, but they will not maybe be able to, as one run will score. Jenkins heading over to second. He'll get in safely. St. John's have now taken the lead.
Now batting for the Cadets, number 11, Gabe Taylor.
Taylor now up. He's 0 for 1 today with 2 walks. Complimentary runner Tommy Fisher coming out for Jenkins. Taylor now up for St. John's. The Hawks not warming anybody up as we speak. Taylor softly hits this one foul as he maybe hurt himself and might have gotten off of his foot. Taylor, as I mentioned, he's gotten on with 2 walks in this game, so he has seen the bases a multitude of times. He's not gotten on due to a hit, though. Hopefully for him, he can change that and get this lead out for St. John's. The Hawks trying to shut that down as he fouls this one back. It's now 0-2. That bunt proving to be a big, big helping hand for St. John's. Shout out their coaching staff. Mark Gibbs has been the coach for St. John's for a long time. He knows baseball, winning over 300 games in his career for the Cadets. Time being called. So shout out Mark Gibbs. He knows what he is doing. 0-2 from Meisler to Taylor. Here it is. Iannacone wanted that one, but it's not going to be called. 1-2. Coach Muth, I think he wanted that one as well. He's now sitting on his legs. And Meisler gets Taylor to swing and miss. Strike 3.
Now batting for the Cadets, number
Big
7.
day for Meisler, as I mentioned. Gets his double-digit strikeouts on the season. Arminger now up for St. John's. Meisler looking to get out of this inning with just 1 run scored. First pitch on the outside, 1-0. As I mentioned, the Hawks with just one more opportunity to tie or take the lead in this one. It will be Kyle Allman, Emilio Iannacone, and Pat Veza in the next inning. We got to focus on the now here, as this one is fouled back. We'll see if St. John's decide to put Nicholson out there for the final inning of work. I assume they would. 1-1 to Arminger. That one in for a strike. 1 strike away from getting the bats back up for St. Joe's Prep. Encouragement from the St. Joseph's Prep dugout. Arminger, an exit velo of 97. We know how hard he hits it. This is the guy you want up if you are St. John's. 1-2 from Meisler. Here's the pitch on the outside, ball 2. High pressure situation. St. John's looking to add an insurance run. The Hawks looking to get out with minimal damage. Meisler looks back over at second. No one holding on. Here's the pitch. Iannacone has to dive to save that one from going to the backstop. Full count here. Sun completely down at the University of Maryland. Shane Meisler looking to get out of the 6th inning. It's a full count. Here's the pitch. Inside, ball 4. 2 runners on with 2 outs. Arminger getting his 2nd walk of the day. That'll bring Stewart up to the plate.
Now batting for the Cadets, number 19, Eli Stewart.
Meisler has faced runners on today, so he has faced that adversity as he starts out well with a strike. Oh, 1-1 for Meisler. He's going to fake the throw back to second. Nobody holding on. As I said, 2 outs in the inning. 0-1 count now to Stewart. This one hard hit, fouled back. 0-2, Meisler looking to get out of the inning. Get the bats back up. St. Joe's Prep, one last chance here. But St. John's looking to add on. Man in scoring position for the Cadets, the 0-2. Stewart softly hits this one. Foul. The O's and the ahs from the Cadets crowd filling the stadium here. That one looked good from Stewart. Looked like it just had enough on it. But unfortunately for him, he'll have to swing in another one. We do the 0-2 again. Meisler takes a deep breath. He delivers, puts it high, ball 1. Everybody on their feet on both dugouts. 1-2 now from Meisler. As this one is hit into the gap for a base hit. 1 run will score. Everybody rounding the bases. And here we go. There's going to be a play at the plate. And he is out. 1 run scores, though, for St. John's. They take a 2-run advantage over St. Joe's Prep as we head into the top of the 7th here on WSJP. We'll take a short break, and we'll be back for the final chance for St. Joe's Prep. Pinch hitter for St. Joe's Prep, it's Danny Matthews. First pitch to Matthews, almost got him. But he is still alive for a ball. Second pitch to him, low, 2-0. Matthews fouls this one off. It was right down the plate, 2-1. Or actually, it was interference by Wilk at home plate, so we'll get Danny Matthews on. Top of the order for St. Joe's Prep, Emilio Iannicone. Iannicone 2 for 3 today, and Allman will run for Matthews. So Isle Allman, he gets on nonetheless. Shout out him. Hawks looking to get something started here with Emilio Iannicone. Oh no, poor PA announcer. He doesn't know Kyle. He doesn't know Iannicone's batting. I know, it's confusing. Coach Muth against the PA announcer here. It's all right. No, shout out Coach Muth. 0-1 to Iannicone. First pitch call for a strike. Nicholson still out there for St. John's. Pat Vezzo on deck for St. Joe's Prep. Iannicone swings on that one and fouls it back. Quick 0-2 to the Hawks starting catcher. Lots of noise being made at the Bob Turtle Smith Stadium here at the University of Maryland. Throw back to first. Allman slides in safely. Iannicone back into the batter's box. The 0-2 to Iannicone, low, ball 1. Here we go, 1-2 to Emilio Iannicone. That one almost hit him. It goes behind him. Great stop from Wilkes. He had a smooth slide to get it. That takes some skill. 2-2. Here we go. 2-2 to Emilio Iannico. He swings on that one and softly hits it into right field. Almond to second base. He has to slide in as he went a bit late. But Emilio Iannico gets on with a hit. No outs, 2 on as Pat Vezza comes to the plate.
Now batting for the Hawks, number 30, Patrick Vezza.
Vezza 0 for 4 today. As James Fratt will complimentary run for Iannico. We'll see if that will do it for Nicholson. They could possibly keep him in there. Vezza the winning, or not the winning, the leading run, I apologize. So James Fratt on for St. Joe's Prep. No stolen bases for Fratt this year, but he has come across the plate 3 times for runs. As Pat Vezza comes up for St. Joe's Prep, looking to maybe drive in a run. We will see. As I mentioned, Vezza 0 for 4 today, so not the best day for Vezza. Has played well in the field, and we'll see if he can get out of a bit of a, I wouldn't say hitting slump. Just, 0 for 4 today. We'll see if he can go 1 for 5, and it would be great. Nicholson stepping off the mound. Lucky Almond wasn't being held on. He could have possibly been out there. But he's safe, and all is good at second base for Kyle Almond. Pat Vezza. We now turn our attention to him as he's going to show bunt, and he'll hardly foul it back. Had that bunt with some force on it. Chris Grasso, man for one with others, handing the ball to the umpire. Infield now in for St. John's. The Prep looking to exchange an out for a base runner. Vezza not showing bunt. He sharply hits that one foul. Quick 0-2 now to the Hawks starting right fielder. I don't know why I can get the words right fielder out, but it's all right. Chris Grasso on deck for St. Joe's Prep. Pat Vezza looking to get on for the Prep, but he's down in the count 0-2. Going to have to face some adversity here. And he takes it inside, ball 1. Good eye from Pat Vezza. Nicholson not going to give him anything to hit there. We'll see if he does this go around. A lot of encouragement from the St. Joe's Prep dugout. Here we go. Nicholson deals. And Vezza hits this one to first. And it'll be a foul ball. That one just goes foul at the last second. It looked like it just bounced before Taylor could scoop it up and tag first. The Hawks earlier were looking to exchange a out for base runners, but it didn't work out for them as the bunt was fouled back. Vezza could have done it there, but doesn't work out for him. 1-2 once again. Here's the pitch from Nicholson. Vezza hits this one softly into left field, and it will get down, and it will get past Stewart. Here comes Almond. He's heading home, and he will be safe. St. Joe's Prep, they're within 1 run. I mentioned Vezza. You just needed 1 hit.
Now batting for the Hawks, number 7, Christopher Grasso.
Just needed 1 for Vezza to get back on track, and he does it there. Chris Grasso up for St. Joe's Prep. Infield a bit in for the Cadets. See if Grasso shows bunt. And he swings on the first one straight to third. We'll see if the double play happens. It will not. The throw over to first made for the out. So to get the first one, runners now at second and third for Will Ward. And an intentional walk for Will Ward to set up the double play. Alex Orespi up. He's 0 for 3 today. Got on with a hit by pitch. High pressured situation in the young career of Alex Orespi. 1 out. Infield a bit in still for St. John's. Frat on third for St. Joe's Prep. He's the tying run. Arespi takes the first pitch for a strike. It's Arespi and Keenan, the hitters for St. Joe's Prep. St. John's decide to keep Nicholson in the game, sticking with him through the bases loaded. That one on the outside. Wilk going to have to be very, very cautious, making sure nothing goes to the backstop. We know the speed of James Fratt. We saw it on the ice this past season, and we have seen it here on the diamond as well. Ball again low. Arespi, as I mentioned, in this high-pressure situation, we know it's good for him, but can he deliver in the first high-pressure situation he's really being put in? 2-1 to him. He swings and hits this one to short. Double play opportunity. Here's the throw to first. It's made to end the game. That will do it here at the University of Maryland. St. John's, they get the win over St. Joe's Prep, 8-7 here. Great win for St. John's. The Hawks on a 2-game losing streak now. They fall to 8-4. Great finish in this game. What a game in general. 8-4 the Hawks fall to, and they'll be back on Monday against Penn Charter. The schedule on WSJP tomorrow, 10 a.m. at Springfield. Myself, Anthony Sorgi, on the call. I got to get home to Philly. I got an early one tomorrow morning. Monday, baseball at Penn Charter, 4 p.m. Then on Wednesday, lacrosse versus LaSalle, 6:30 at SJU. We'll all have that live on WSJP. Great trip out to D.C. St. John's get the 8-7 win over St. Joe's Prep. Thank you to the Prep's baseball team for getting me and Drew Z out here. Make sure to follow us on make sure to follow us on Instagram at SJP Broadcast and to stay up to date with those photos from Drew Z. And yeah, shout out to St. Joe's Prep. Shout out Coach Stan. Shout out Coach Muth to making sure I could get out here to do this broadcast today. Had a lot of fun at the University of Maryland. That will do it here as St. John's get the 8-7 win over St. Joe's Prep. For myself, Ryan Sullivan, and my photographer, Andrew Zimmerman, we say thank you, have a good night, and go Prep.